The NFL trade deadline is not that far away. It is coming up on October 31st, and it begs the question, should the San Francisco 49ers be buyers at the deadline? Well, we already know the San Francisco 49ers just traded for Randy Gregory for essentially nothing, and they bolstered their edge, and they need some additional pass rush help. So it was a perfect fit. But Dan Graziano is reporting that the San Francisco 49ers could still be in the market to add additional players to the San Francisco 49ers. ESPN's Dan Graziano recently put out today that the 49ers still could be in the works on some potential trades. And this is what he wrote earlier. He said, "Don't rule out the possibility of the 49ers, as tremendous as they already look, adding a player if they think it can make a difference. The Niners have the biggest of goals of this season, and they were aggressive last year when running back Christian McCaffrey became available. Remember, the Rams adding a Von Miller at the deadline a couple years ago. If an opportunity for an impact guy like that comes along at the right cost, don't sleep on the idea of the rich getting richer in San Francisco." Shout out to my guy KP for putting this out on Niners Nation. Now, obviously, this would make a lot of sense for the San Francisco 49ers to continue to make their roster even better. And some may say adding Randy Gregory is a good jumpstart for that, but could they add more? And if they add more, who should they add? There are multiple teams and multiple guys that are going to be available at the deadline. We've already heard that the Denver Broncos are pretty much for sale. Everyone, unfortunately, except Patrick Surtain. From a report earlier today, it does sound like the Broncos aren't going to be trading their blue chip cornerback. But if you want to have anyone else, they're up for sale. Frank Clark, Garrett Bowles, the list goes on and on. So those could be that could be another situation where the 49ers maybe go back to the well with the Denver Broncos and maybe try to get their hands on Garrett Bowles. I know a lot of 49er fans want to see the 49ers add additional offensive line help, but I think there's another team where the 49ers can go back to the well and potentially pull some talent. As we know, this, and it was already discussed in the article by Dan Graziano, the 49ers went and got Christian McCaffrey from the Carolina Panthers. Not only that, they went and got Zane Gonzalez from the Panthers as well at the beginning of the season. So there's clearly a path for trades between the San Francisco 49ers front office and Scott Fitterer and his group with the Carolina Panthers. So they've clearly gotten big and small deals done. And right now, the Carolina Panthers haven't won a game this season. And it really looks like they are going to be sellers at the deadline. Well, there are two players in particular that come to mind when we're looking at the Carolina Panthers and a potential trade with the 49ers. Brian Burns, if you know anything about me or this channel, you know I've been advocating for the 49ers to trade for Brian Burns for about 2 years now. So there's not too much new information that I could present to you other than the fact that it doesn't appear that the Carolina Panthers and Brian Burns are going to come to terms on a long-term contract, and he will be a free agent at the end of this year. He is currently playing on his fifth-year option. So it would be in the Carolina Panthers' best interest if they aren't going to pay Brian Burns to trade Brian Burns. And even though the San Francisco 49ers just got their hands on Randy Gregory, and again, at no cost, I would still be aggressively pursuing Brian Burns. I think he would still be, he's a tier above, tier two or three tiers above what Randy Gregory currently is. And this team could use all the pass rushers it can get. So I'm not at all backing off of the 49ers trying to go and get Brian Burns. And again, because he is going to be a free agent at the end of the year and he's remains unsigned and effectively could be a rental player, I do believe the asking price for Brian Burns will be much lower than what was reported the Rams tried to give them, which was 2 first-round picks last season. So because we are in the middle of the year and he will be a free agent, I do think that lowers the asking price in regards to what it would take to get Brian Burns. Now you have to ask, are the 49ers willing to be that aggressive? Are they concerned about Brian Burns potentially going to the Rams, potentially going to the Seahawks, maybe going in their division or in the conference? I mean, it's almost just as good to make sure you get a guy on your team, make your team better, and also ensure you're blocking other teams from getting a guy of Brian Burns' caliber. If the 49ers had a defensive line that consisted of Brian Burns, Nick Bosa, Javon Hargrave, Eric Armstead, Randy Gregory, Javon Kinlaw, it would be by far, hands down, the best defensive line in the NFL and would be so complementary to what the 49ers are doing on offense. But another position that has been discussed is cornerback. I do believe that the 49ers have been playing much better at cornerback. Charvarius Ward and Diamador Lenore have been really good on the outside, and Isaiah Oliver is starting to find his rhythm, although he did give up some passes against the Dallas Cowboys. I didn't feel too particularly bad with how he played. I actually thought he played pretty well for the most part. But could the 49ers be looking to upgrade the cornerback position? And if so, maybe they look to a guy like Jeremy Chin, who is like a safety, but he can also play nickel. And he's kind of a versatile young player, only 25 years old, just like Brian Burns, both 25, both very young, and both have a lot of talent. But if if the Carolina Panthers are trying to blow it up, those are two players that the 49ers could look at. I know a lot of people have talked about JC Horn, but he is currently on IR. I don't know how realistic it would be to get him traded while on IR. And on top of that, he's dealt with a lot of injuries early on with his career. Great talent, just injured. So it'll be interesting to see if any of those guys could potentially fit into the mix with the San Francisco 49ers. I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to be selling at the deadline. It is going to be interesting. Maybe a Danielle Hunter could be an option out of Minnesota, maybe a Chase Young with the Commanders. It's going to be really interesting to see if the 49ers are going to be really, really active. Maybe they go Mike Gesicki out of New England, potentially if they want to upgrade their tight end 2 position behind George Kittle. So it's going to be fascinating to see if the San Francisco 49ers make a move on any one of these players. But if you had the opportunity to make a move, who would you try and go and get? I'm fully on board with the San Francisco 49ers going all in this year, pushing the chips to the center, going out, getting impact players. Do it. I don't care. I don't care about those picks next year. If you need to trade your first round picks, second round picks, third round, that's fine. They have 11 picks next year, and they're all likely going to be high draft picks because we expect them to be competing for a Super Bowl this year. So I'm all for leveraging the 49ers draft picks to go out and get a impact player for this year. But what do you think? Do you think the 49ers should do that? And if so, who should they target? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more updates.